Welcome to the last session of the day. I know it's been a long day. I appreciate you sticking all out. Again, my name is Josh. I work in the Dean of Students office. In addition to my role with orientation, I also supervise our off-campus student services program. So work with the group of students and staff that work with students who live off campus. So you all are here because y'all are living off campus, or you're guests of students who are living off campus, right? We're in the right room? Good, great, grand. The room with coffee, people like that. I have a few things I'm going to go over that I know are common questions or concerns students and parents of students who are living off campus tend to have. The topics I'm going to revolve around are transportation and parking, food, and then getting involved in managing time on campus as an off-campus student. Those are kind of my big three categories. If you have other questions that don't fall into that, or if as I'm talking something strikes you, please don't hesitate to shoot up your hand, ask me a question, whatever works. This space is more conversational than the formal giant wolf room, and so I hope it can be that if it works for you. Does that sound good? Cool. I'm going to start, though, because I want to keep us on time and because it'd be boring for the people watching on video if I don't keep going. So, talking about parking and transportation, if a student is driving to campus, you need to purchase a parking permit to park on campus. A commuter parking permit costs $105 for a semester or $200 for the year. Now, I won't call that cheap because an extra $200 is an extra $200, but I will say the U of M would charge you a lot more than that and have less convenient parking. And a lot of area high schools actually charge more than that for their parking. And then thirdly, we actually have lowered our prices in the last 3 to 5 years. It used to be $250 for the year, so we're trying to keep it affordable for students. So hopefully that works. If you choose to purchase a parking permit, I recommend parking in the Anderson parking facility, the parking ramp you probably parked in today when you came to campus. When you purchase the parking permit, all you need to do is swipe that student ID that you got at the end of the day today. The gate will open up. You don't need to pay any additional fees to park in there if you have the parking permit. I think it's the best place to park because it's huge. It's really never full. The 1 or 2 times in the years we've had that space that it's been full, it's been on large publicized events that were publicized well ahead of time, so you could plan. Secondly, it's covered, and so it gets shade in the summer and it's covered from snow in the winter. And then if you know you can find a spot there, you don't waste a lot of time driving around to other small lots looking for a spot that might be full, and you can know how long it takes to get from that ramp to your first class. So I think that's the best plan, and probably the students in the room, and I should have said, Samantha, Vito, Mazer, and Melina, who are our orientation leaders, all 4 of them commuted their first year as well. So please leverage them, ask them questions as well, because they lived this experience. Let's see. Sometimes folks think they don't have to purchase a parking permit and they try to park on the streets near our campus. That tends not to work very well. The city has really heavily regulated most of the street parking around our campus at the neighbor's request. And so those that end up parking on the streets typically end up paying more in parking fines than they would have if they had just purchased a parking permit in the first place. So I don't recommend it. Every once in a while I hear of a student who pulls it off, and I don't know how they do, but I'd recommend not chancing it. If you're not driving to campus, another way to get to and from campus is the Metro Transit system. We have a number of lines that come right to our campus. Students can purchase an unlimited use Metro Transit pass for $175 for a semester, which yes is more than the parking permit, but you're not paying gas, maintenance, insurance, all of those kind of things. And you can use it 24/7, not just to and from campus. You can use it to get to a job, to events off campus, whatever you might need it for. Every year I have a student who says, I would rather drive, but my folks want me to do the bus. I don't like that. I understand that, but what I remind the students is, if you're on the bus in rush hour traffic, you could be reading, you can be studying, you could even be resting a little bit before that exam you have right away in the morning, whatever it might be. If you're driving in rush hour traffic, you're pretty much going to be listening to the radio, and that's about it. So there's benefits to both, I will readily admit that. And our Metro Transit system runs really late into the evenings. It's really convenient. An additional option that isn't the Metro Transit system is our UST shuttle bus that runs between our St. Paul and our Minneapolis campus. So once the school year starts, pretty much every 20 minutes for most of the day, a bus leaves St. Paul heading towards Minneapolis and leaves Minneapolis heading towards St. Paul. That is free with your St. Thomas ID. I'm going to keep talking about Melina. I keep doing this to you, Melina. Melina's dad works in downtown Minneapolis, gives her a ride there. She hops the shuttle to come to St. Thomas's St. Paul campus in the morning, free. Doesn't pay a thing for that. So that works really well for some students. Or if you have classes in Minneapolis, it's a great way to get back and forth. Our public safety has a number of services. Parents and guests, you've heard about some of this already. That can be helpful both for driving students as well as for students who might be taking the bus. So if you're driving, if you can't start your car, they can come and give you a jump start. If you lock your keys in your car, they can help get you in. I've used both those services, so I know they work. They also have the walking escort program where if you call them up within 10 minutes, they'll send someone to your location who will walk anywhere on campus or up to 6 blocks off campus with you. So if you want to get to or have a bus coming and you want someone to walk you from the bus stop to your classroom building, or if you're studying late in the library and you want someone to walk back to the parking facility with you, great resource for that. They say they'll get someone out there in 10 minutes or less. They promise walking. 9 times out of 10, they actually pull up with a public safety vehicle and will give you a ride. And especially in the winter, that's a wonderful thing. So please feel free to use that, especially if it's convenient and it makes you feel safer. The better it is. Biking, walking are good options as well. If you choose to use a bike, please lock it to a bike rack and invest in a good lock. Those are our quick advice there. I sailed through Parkade and Transportation. You've heard me do this 3 times. Have I missed anything? Any questions about some of that or anything else with that? No? Y'all just want to get out of here. It's a long day. I get it. All right, I'm going to talk about food, and not because I'm hungry. I'm not. I'm full. But so my bias, there's a lot of different ways to eat on campus. There's a lot of different ways to, you saw Scooters today, which serves different food. The View is our main cafeteria here. There's plenty of different ways and places to eat on campus. My bias for first-year students who are living off campus is that it be as easy as possible for them to eat in the View, our main cafeteria. Let me tell you why, and then I'll give you a lot of different ideas on how, okay? The why is this. About 8% of first years like yourselves live off campus at St. Thomas. So that means 92% of your peers, your first year class, are going to be living on campus this year. That's why they're in the giant room. Living on campus, they have to purchase a meal plan, and they have to purchase a meal plan that has them eating the bulk of their meals in the main cafeterias. So if you're in class with some of your fellow first years, it gets done at noon, and 3 of your classmates are like, hey, come with us, we're going to go grab lunch afterwards. That's awesome. That's the kind of thing we want you to be able to do. They, if they live on campus, are going to want to eat in the View because that's the only place they get their money's worth on the meal plans. So if it's easy for you to enter in there with them, then you continue to connect and engage and make friends and all that cliche stuff that we know is really important. So, a lot of different ways to do it. The View takes cash or check. They do not take credit card. They're one of the few places on campus that's dining that doesn't. They do take UST Express, which you heard briefly about in the billing and financial aid session this morning, if you can remember that far back. That's the function by which you can deposit money and basically turn your student ID into a debit card, that you can purchase things on campus or off campus using money that you've pre-deposited or charged to your student account. The door price in the View, and this is where I'm going to lose some of you, I'm sorry. It is $9.50 for breakfast, $9.95 for lunch, and then $11.50 for dinner. Now, if you compare that to Chipotle or something like that, a burrito, a drink, some chips, it's going to be close to those prices, particularly for lunch. And the View is all you can eat. Unfortunately, you didn't get to eat there today, but it is actually really good food, and there's a lot of options. You can ask the students here. They've eaten in there before, and I'm not paying them to lie to you. They would only say it's good if they agree. And you can go in there and get 12 entrees and 14 side dishes and 3 different drinks, because all of that's included in that one price. So the Express is a good way to do that if you want to use the door price. And if you remember what they said in billing and financial aid, when you're depositing money as if charging it to your credit card through that account, you get a 5% bonus. So if you could put $100 on there right away, you actually get $105. Free money, sort of. If you can put more on, you get a larger bonus. And so that's another way to make that a more affordable option and to make that work. Other than that, there's some other options. Off-campus students can purchase a meal plan as well, so please feel free to look at those options online. They have some smaller meal plans. They have a block 30, 60, and 70 meal plan that have the numbers refer to the number of meals a semester that you can eat. So 30 is 30 meals, 30 swipes into the view in a semester. Many of those meal plans, if you do the per meal cost, actually come out to over the lunch price, but under the dinner price. So I personally don't think if you're not going to eat dinners on campus very often, they're not the greatest idea. And I'm saying that on tape, so Dining Services is hearing me, so know that it's okay for me to say that. But if you would be, that's a great option. Also, the block 70, the largest of the ones I just listed, the per meal price does come in below that lunch door price, and so that's about 5 meals a week. So if you think you would be eating 5 meals, lunch or dinner on campus in a week, that meal plan can be a great way to get some good value worth to be going into the view a lot. It really comes down to what's going to be the best decision for each of the students and each of the families based on finances, based on time on campus, based on involvement, and all of those other things. I'm happy to keep talking about that with anyone individually, but ultimately those are kind of the big options for eating in the view. Beyond that, there's plenty of other options. Teas, scooters, we have a coffee cart down on South Campus. Those places do all take credit card, as well as all of those other Cash Check and UST Express, so you can utilize those. So if you just need to grab a quick sandwich, that's a great place to go downstairs in this building. And, oh, I'm blanking. What was I going to say next? The other options for on-campus, you can certainly bring your own lunch. Our off-campus student services resource room, which I'll show you at the end of this session, we'll just take a quick field trip there, I promise it'll be quick, has a full-size refrigerator and freezer. So if you need to bring your lunch in the morning, put it in there, get it out at noontime or before your night class, that's a great option as well. And when I talk about time and involvement on campus, I'll talk about a lot of different free food options. So that helps too. Everyone loves free food. Other things with food? Questions about that? I went through it fast. Yeah.
What time is like the lunch and dinner?
Oh, that's a great question. Lunch, I think, starts as early as 11 or 11:30, and then it ends, I think, about 1:30. I'm blanking on this. I think it's a pretty long lunch, but and then dinner starts. It starts early. It can start as early as, I think, 4:30. And that's partially because if people have night classes at 5 or 5:30, we'd love them to be able to get in there and get their meal beforehand. And it doesn't go super late. I think it's 6:30 or 7. Is it 7 now? Okay. I think it used to be earlier than that, so that's good. Good question. Not to eat. The cafeteria closes down. The service line of it. People do use that space to sit and study when it's not open serving food, but yeah, unfortunately no. And because it's all you can eat, you can't go in there unless you purchase a meal, unless you're purchasing a meal to eat. Good questions. I'm going to move on to involvement on campus, but please stop me if you have other questions. So, a couple of different things. Our own institutional research, as well as national data, tell us that students in college, and at St. Thomas specifically, are more successful, more engaged, and more likely to graduate in 4 years if they're involved in at least two things outside of class. So the data shows that if you come to campus, go to class, and leave right away, you're less likely to be successful and have all of those things as if you come to campus, go to class, maybe engage in a couple other things, and then leave when you need to. That's not to say you need to spend every day here from 8 until midnight every single day. Everyone has their priorities. Everyone needs to balance a lot of things. We know, folks, if you're living at home, you might have responsibilities there. If you have a job off campus near where you live that's helping you afford to be here, that's important. We wouldn't want anyone to say that that's not. But if you can find things to be involved in on campus that enhance what you're learning in the classroom or what you're engaging with, you'll have a more positive and fulfilling experience. So let me give you a couple examples. We've talked about clubs and organizations a handful of times today. We have over 140 student-led clubs and organizations on campus. Every major pretty much has a club attached to it. And so we think joining at least one club is a great idea. And if you're coming in as an accounting major, maybe check out the accounting club. If you're coming in as a Spanish major, check out the Spanish club. These all exist, and it's a great way to connect with people who share your interests, to meet upperclassmen who are studying that, to learn what they're learning, and probably to network and engage with people outside of St. Thomas who connect with that major and are interested in maybe hiring folks like that, or show what you can do with those kind of majors and that kind of piece. We have something at St. Thomas called Convo Hour, which is on Tuesdays and Thursdays from basically 11:30 to 1:30. There's never any class scheduled. So those 2 days a week during that noon hour, basically there's no class. The vast majority of our clubs and organizations meet during that time. I think that's wonderful. I went to a different school for undergrad, but if you were in a student club where I went for undergrad, it met at 8 o'clock at night if you were lucky, maybe more like 9. And so if you lived off campus, if you went home after class at 4, the odds of you coming back for an 8 or a 9 o'clock meeting were slimmer. When it's in the middle of the day like this, it allows off-campus students a lot more opportunity and convenience to engage. So if you have a schedule now that has you either done with class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30 or not starting class until 1:30, wow, that would be a lot of sleeping in. I'd really encourage you to consider coming to campus before or after that time so you're here for Convo Hour as well, because there are a lot of really great things that happen on campus, especially those club and organization meetings. And because the clubs and orgs that meet during that time know they're over the lunch hour, the vast majority of them have free food at their meetings. There's free food, number one. It's likely pizza, but who doesn't like pizza? But there's things like that that you can engage with. So not only are you connecting with an interest area, connecting with your peers, but you're also getting fed 1 or 2 times a week out of that connection. Beyond the major clubs, there's a ton of other clubs just that are fun and engaging. We have a rock climbing club. Vito's the president of the tabletop gaming club. I know there's other fun ones that I can't think of right now, but there's a lot of great stuff out there, and I'd recommend checking them out. Another way to get involved on campus is on-campus employment, getting a job. If your financial aid award has a work-study allotment, you need to get an on-campus job to get access to that. And so they give you some tips about finding things. I'm going to promote a couple of things. First off, working on campus from a tax implication is actually you make a little bit more than you would if you were paid the same rate off campus, because we withhold less taxes during the school year from student employment than they would off campus. It's almost like you were making 50 cents more an hour. So that's one thing. The second thing is because we as employers know that you're students, we build your schedules around your academic coursework. We know that you're here to be students first and that's your priority. So it might be you call us up and say, hey, this week I've really got a heavy exam. I'd love if we could find someone to take my shift, or if I wouldn't have to come in. And a lot of people are very understanding of that. It might be that you only have 2 hours between classes and you don't have anything else scheduled. Maybe there's a 2-hour shift you could work during that time. Those are some really great options for looking at that stuff. A couple of specific places. Well, one, The View, that I've talked about a lot. You maybe saw them at the info fair. They are dramatically hiring right now. They had a lot of people who graduated because people got jobs there and stayed there because they love the community of working down there. And because for some reason people think working in the school cafeteria isn't that exciting. They pay a little bit more than some other jobs. And every shift you work, you get a free meal. More free food, that's number 2. So I would recommend checking that out, but there's plenty of other options as well. And the advice they probably gave this morning is, if there's an area that you know you're interested in, start reaching out to them now to see if they might have positions available. And keep checking the St. Thomas Jobs Student Employment website, because that's another great resource, especially as we get towards August. Again, with getting involved on campus, you can't do it all, and being here 16-hour days every day of the week would probably burn you out pretty quickly. You could do it, but it'd be a lot. One of the things we'd kind of recommend is, especially in the first month or 2, focus on your studies, but then beyond that, cast your net wide. Try out a bunch of things you think you might be interested in, and as you connect with things, then you can winnow it down and be a little bit more strategic about what you really choose to invest your time in. The people who join 14 clubs and then get 2 on-campus jobs and do a handful of other things on top of that, that gets to be a lot, and that certainly starts to detriment their studies. But finding those things that are really valuable and important to you, that really enhance both what you're learning in the classroom and your feeling of connection here on campus, those are going to be the things that are worth investing in. We have a couple of programs specifically for first-year commuters and off-campus student services that I want to quickly go over, and then, I'm watching time, we'll head over to the off-campus student services resource room. So, 3 things. We have our first-year commuter advisor program. So this is a group of upperclassmen students, all of whom commuted their first year as well, who serve as kind of a mentor and resource to you all as you're commuting your first year. So they'll send emails and reach out to you. They'll plan different events and programs. They'll be a resource if you have questions, not just about commuting, but about anything at St. Thomas. And they might even just say, hey, you and I, let's grab coffee today and just check in and see how your semester is going. They want to be that support for you. Vito is one, and he'll tell you sometimes he reaches out to people and his emails get ignored or his calls get ignored. He only cries a little bit when that happens. But what we hope students do is that if they're not connecting with their commuter advisor, that they're connecting somewhere else. That's the biggest thing. If we know that students have a connection somewhere on campus, then we feel good about it. And so the advisor is one resource, but if Vito's bugging you with email after email and you find him annoying and you have 3 other places you're connected, engaged, let him know that. And then, not that he'll stop bugging you entirely, but at least then we're not worried about you in the same way, making sure you're successful. So that's one program. Another we have is our Commuter Resident Partnership Program. This is a program we do with Residence Life. You have to sign up for this one, but if you sign up, we pair you up with the residence hall floor. So you are invited to all of the floor programs that happen there. The RA includes you on all their emails about different things that are happening on campus. And to help you engage with the people you're making friends with or connecting with at those events or attend those events, Residence Life gives you card access to the residence hall. So from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. you could swipe your card and go into the residence hall as if you live there to meet and connect with all those people. It's not just the residence hall we pair you with, it's actually all of the residence halls. So it's a great program as you, in addition to connecting with that floor, you make friends in a class that live in a different building and you want to go visit them. Use it for that. If there's a study group that's meeting in one of the residence hall lounges in an early evening, use it for that. We want you to be able to engage with your peers who are living on campus very easily. We do need you to sign up for that. We'll have a sign-up sheet downstairs in the resource room when we head there. The third thing we're doing this year, and it's the first first year we've done this, is we have a section of Theology 101 that will just have commuting students in it. Some of you may have heard about this in your advising section, maybe a session this afternoon, maybe you didn't. It's one of your 4 classes, so you still have plenty of opportunities to meet the residential students. And we're hoping to build a little bit of a cohort and an engagement with students who have that experience. We have actually the chair of the theology department is teaching the course. He was very excited to sign on to this, and he's looking forward to it. And they're planning, looking at how they can be cognizant of the curriculum and knowing folks who are commuting are probably from the area and how we can use that differently to enhance the learning that's happening. Additionally, we built the section so it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and gets done right at noon. And yes, guess what? A handful of times we're going to invite everyone in the class over for lunch afterwards and just continue the camaraderie that's happening. So free food number 3. If you didn't get signed up for that, if your advisor didn't talk to you about that, you can call Academic Advising and they'll put you on a list to get you added to it if we get space. I do know it's full, but if you did get into that and it's not something you're interested in, if you call Academic Advising, they can remove you from it and let someone else who is really interested in. I think it's going to be great. Like I said, it's the first year we've done this. More people in the previous orientation sessions are asking, how do I get into this than how do I get out of it? But that's where we are right now. If this really works well, we'll probably grow it in future years, which probably doesn't help you all a lot, but still, we'll do what we can. Those are kind of the big 3 things we're doing this year for first-year commuters. The last thing I'll say is at the beginning of the school year, a week before classes start, we do a big barbecue where we invite all of you, students and families, back to campus the Wednesday before classes start. So this is Wednesday evening, September 2nd. And we'll email and mail more information about this as we get closer, so don't feel like you have to remember this. We do a big dinner at 6:30, and then we take some time for the students to go off with their commuter advisor and meet each other and meet that person while the families stay and have more conversation and get more questions answered. answer all those questions we answered today, but you forgot between now and then. Don't worry, you will. It's been a lot of information, don't worry. But we do it at 6:30 because we invite actually a couple of different offices to stay open late so that you can get some business done. So we invite the campus store to stay open late so you can get your books for the school year. Parking and transportation services stays open late so you can get that parking permit or bus pass figured out then. Tommy Central in this building, which is a service that rents out the lockers in this building. I'll show you those as we walk by. They'll be open as well, so you can rent your locker for the year if you want one of those. It's a great way to get some of that prep done before the on-campus students move in that following Saturday. So you can get a head start on all of that, as well as get to meet that group of fellow first-year commuter students. I sailed. I think I stuck to time. Any questions? No? All right, we will walk down to the off-campus student services space and